first day out there this morning. A little bit of a change for you guys in terms of usually this morning there's just a walkthrough. This morning we practiced, so we got a chance to kind of see some of those guys for the first time do something. They did a lot of good things fast, did a lot of bad things fast, and we'll get that stuff corrected. I know you guys always ask about roster. Our all, to my knowledge, all of our guys are good to go from an academic standpoint, eligibility standpoint. We have one change. Paris Bostic is no longer with the program. He's pursuing other interests. And with that, we'll take your questions.
Question right here, AJ.
Coach, what would you say specifically does the coaching staff want to see your team improve from last year to this year at most?
It's a long list, AJ. Obviously, from a defensive standpoint, just too many points, too many yards, too many explosive plays. Our two big keys are explosive plays and taking care of the football on offense, and explosive plays and taking the football away on defense. So all that goes into that, confidence in your assignment, knowing where your help is, communication. There's a million things that add up to, it's like everything. It's a million tiny details that add up to that drastic change.
Over here on the right, Lindsay.
Hey Mark, I was wondering, with Devin going to Rio, is the plan right now that you're anticipating him coming back whenever he gets home and just having him catch up?
In essence, sure. The plan right now is for him to win a gold medal, and I guess the plan right now is for him to train and win the first round and progress to the semis and the finals. And then after that, we've discussed a few things, but it all kind of, there's several conditions that are involved in that.
I was also wondering, are you guys planning to have a watch party to watch him in his prelims and then hopefully the final?
I was calling it a team meeting, but I think watch party is a little cooler, so I'm going to call it the Schnell watch party. And he should run Schnell, right? That's fast in German, so it all fits.
Mark, what did you see from the quarterbacks? I know it's early, but since April, did it look like they'd been hard after the summer? What was your impression?
Sometimes we threw it to the wrong team too many times this morning, which I guess is good if you're a DB and bad if you're a quarterback. But the guys did some good things and forced it. Sometimes we do some drills today that basically are kind of to test their decision making, their timing, ball placement, and some good, some bad. But yeah, a lot of progress has been made, and today's up, we're kind of measuring it against where we were at the end of spring. We're going the right direction, so that's a good thing. Yeah, no, boy, this guy was unbelievably better than everybody else. No.
In the back, Rick.
Coach, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how your teaching techniques will change with the new members of the staff, Mr. Yost and Mr. Hope.
Yeah, how you teach. I mean, that's kind of something that we do every day, every kind of season, off season, years. You're adapting not only to what you're doing, but who you're talking to, and how these guys learn, and how each individual at your position learns. There's some guys that need to do it. There's some guys you can put it on the board one time and they get it. There's some guys you can show them on film. So kind of finding that mixture and how we teach is huge. And then each year, that we're trying to learn every year of how to do that better. And so whether it's a drill or a piece of equipment or a piece of technology, or all those things go into it. But yeah, there's different things at every position. Certainly at our defensive coordinator spot, how we've done that is different because of how Brady's done it. And so yeah, it's obviously defensively drastically different. Offensively, I think it's more of the nuances of his personality and his style.
Back left, Krista.
Mark, this is kind of piggybacking off of that, but I know Oregon has its specific brand of football, but with two new coordinators underneath you, is there a different feel heading into this camp than maybe years past?
Not necessarily. I think we want to play fast and score a lot of points on offense, and we want to take it away on defense and shut them out. I don't think that's ever not been the case. But the voices of every team and the kind of the level of volume, whether it's coaches or players, and that culture just kind of changes a little bit every year. And so from that sense, it's kind of the normal. And then again, defensively, yeah, it's all different.
Steve Mims? Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't Steve Mims.
Can I go? All right, right on. Sky Muller, K-Back. I think it's a proper introduction. Mark, as you look at your quarterback battle right now, you've seen a lot of quarterback battles over the years. Do you get a sense this one is going to come down to maybe that Saturday or Monday before the first week of the season?
I think in the past, I think that if you learn one thing, you can't predetermine it. You can't predict it. You can't, go, hey, by this date we're going to have, because you predetermine things, and predetermining things isn't always best. It has to be natural. It's a good Eugene term. It has to be organic, right? It has to happen right in front of everybody and for everybody's best interest. And so to put a date on it, again, ideally, I've said before, ideally it's going to be about a week and a half out where you've got your starter and it's slated out of how we game plan before the first game is ideal. But ideal isn't always isn't always best, if that makes sense. And so if it happens soon, great. If it happens later, that's great too.
Now Steve Mims.
Mark over here. You get a sense from talking with Brady just after he sees 15 spring practices, and then a couple months to review. Do you get the idea that him coming in, does he feel like he can kind of go in and do what he'd anticipated, or does he have to tweak a little bit based on what he's kind of seen and how he's prepared over the last few months?
I think again, yes and no. Is the short answer. The long answer is, I think during spring ball, you're kind of doing the combination of cramming down their throat what you want them to do. That's an attitude, a culture, all those things. And then from a, schematic standpoint, you're going to experiment. You're going to find out what each guy can do, what they can't do, maybe discover some things that you didn't know. And then in the fall, it's really, you're starting over and doing that again for about 2 weeks. And so you're going to figure out, the new guys, what they can or can't do, the returning guys, what they've developed over the summer, what they've added to their repertoire, and then you kind of pick and choose what's best out of that. And I think you're doing that in every phase, but certainly defensively, we did some experimenting with guys, whether it's corners and safeties to nickel, and so on down to the nose guard. You're going to be in experiment mode for a couple more weeks.
Up front, Andrew.
The speed of the way you guys practice is obviously integral to everything you've always done. But Brady in the past has expressed some misgivings about how a defense can fare when they practice against it every day. Are there going to be kind of material changes to the speed? I don't know, do you structure it differently at all? Are you going to meet a pathway? I don't know how that works.
No, that's the old, it's always funny because every defensive coordinator says that, and then when they practice, they have 2 offensive scout teams go against the defense. And so we just have one. And so we try to play at that tempo, and our tempo of practice hasn't changed at all. We've tweaked some drills, just like we have every year since the beginning of time, a little bit here and there. But the gist of what we're doing from a tempo standpoint, absolutely, that's all systems go. Today it was all systems sometimes go.
Mark, your first 2 years, obviously there was no quarterback battle. Last year, you guys go through the fall, new situation. Is there anything that you guys learned from having a quarterback, a new install of a quarterback last fall camp that you guys can change going into this fall?
Not really, just in terms of, last year was unique in that Vernon wasn't here for, wasn't here right now, right? As of this day, or how, I can't remember how that all played out. Seems like 20 years ago at this point. But every year has its own way it plays out, and that's why, again, you can't really predetermine it. You can certainly take, from one thing, of how to teach a certain type of guy, or a way a guy learns, or just the personality of a guy. But those guys are also individuals, and you're going to cater a lot of what you do offensively to that quarterback's personality. If he can't do it, then we're idiots for trying to do it, type of thing. And so we're figuring out what their personalities are and how and what, and kind of along the lines of what we're talking about from a defensive standpoint, doing some experimentation with those guys, and that will continue.
Third row, left, right.
Hey coach, after losing leaders like Tyler and DeForest last year, who's really kind of emerged as taking control of the team and showing them like which way to go?
Well, yeah, that will continue. Obviously, just being around the guys today, Cameron Hunt did it. Cameron Hunt is kind of the leader of the offensive line, the veteran there that can play a lot of spots for us. I think Charles and Royce are both. They're kind of along the lines of some of the guys we've had in recent past that are very quiet guys naturally, but are starting to grow as leaders and doing a nice job. Defensively, Tyree Robinson has done a good job in the secondary, and then Johnny Reagan has done an outstanding job at kind of with the front seven. So we need to continue to have more guys emerge and more guys that have that credibility and within the team and within themselves to get that done.
On the right, Jerry.
Yeah, Coach, ran into Coach Lubick at Safeway about a week ago. I tried not to talk football, but somehow it got out. He said that he thought this was the best summer I don't know if he said by far, but definitely the best summer that he'd ever seen as far as what the players went through and their productivity and everything. I didn't really ask him how he measured that, or you agree with that, or?
What section of the store was he in?
We were near the checkout counter. So.
What did he have in his little basket?
I don't think he had a basket. He's a football guy,
Did he
not a
have
basketball
cart
guy.
thing? The little hand basket?
Yeah, I guess he did. I didn't notice that, I'm sorry.
It's not good reporting, right? The reporter would know what's in it. I think again on paper, translating guys in terms of their bigger, faster, leaner. We had the best attendance of all time. A lot of those things, and to that we kind of say, okay, now what? How does that translate to production on the field and from where we are, and we talked about this last night in the team meeting, they should take a lot of confidence in that and translate, it should translate out to the field. But now you have to, somebody asked the other day, it's the fastest team. I don't know if that's the case, but if I'm a fast guy and I'm overthinking things and I'm taking a false step, I'm not the fastest guy. I'm a fast guy on stopwatch, and that's, very different. But we're excited. I think we have, a little mentality about us, and just continue to work every single day.
You're on the left, AJ.
Coach, on your left, Coach Hoke coming in here installing his base 4-3 versus 3-4. Clearly, you're going to need more defensive linemen, less linebackers. What roster moves have you made, or are you planning to make, to accommodate the shift in numbers?
Yeah, that's kind of going back to the whole experimentation thing of basically your outside linebacker, drop end, rush end, defensive end, whatever, there's a million names for what people call them around the world. Kind of transferring in and out of a 3-4 scheme to a 4-3 scheme. Those guys is where we're experimenting the most right now, of a guy like Terani Prevo or Justin Hollins or some of these guys that are kind of in that drop backer defensive end mode in the past, and where they end up. If I'm a Henry Mondu, how much outside versus inside do I play on the front? All those kind of things. And so that's kind of one. Probably it is the biggest area where we're experimenting a lot with those guys, and after next couple weeks we'll see where everything shakes out.
Over here on the right.
Hi, Mark. I know you guys don't place much emphasis on rankings, but do you get the sense just from seeing the guys this morning and spring ball that they really have something to prove this year?
I don't know. I said a couple weeks ago that we have never talked about that ever, whether it was the BCS or the college football playoff or whatever, it doesn't matter. And what we've done in the past, it doesn't matter. It's what we're doing right now. And everybody, we've had our demise forecast for many, many years. And again, if our guys use that as fire to stoke their preparation, awesome.
Middle left, Austin.
Mark, I guess the good or the bad thing about a bowl game is that you have the whole off season to think about it. did you sense that Alamo Bowl stuck with guys during the off season? Did you want it to, or did you want to just turn the page like you would with any other game?
I think it's kind of individualized as well, and great quote-unquote failure in that case, or great success is really the same thing. You know, if you can learn from it, and you're one of those people that needs to, put that picture up on your locker, or put that thing in your mirror every day to look at and motivate you to do something, great. And we have to figure out how they deal with it. If you're one of those guys that needs to watch the film one time, learn from it, and flush it, great. But I think that's come up, here and there certainly, and guys have talked about it in the right way.
Mark, going back to Devin, how much does his success in track help you guys as you recruit multi-sport athletes that you can tell them, it's not just lip service, you can actually come here and do a lot if you play another sport?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, we've had a bunch of guys obviously throughout the years play several sports. We've had a lot of dual sport athletes, basketball, baseball, certainly track and field, and yeah, I think it's just that validation that we're going to do what we say we do. Our only condition with that is academics. If a guy can handle it academically, we are all for it. I wish I could do that, and it's just incredible what he's done and what several of our guys have done, and absolutely, I brought this up again a couple weeks ago that it was really cool to sit in his living room and sit there and talk about the NFL and talk about Rio like it was, hey, I'm going to drive down the street and stop at 7-Eleven. That's literally, he had it in his mind of, okay, I'm going to do this and turn right and turn left, and so many times in recruiting we have the very, very unrealistic conversation with guys, and with him it was just always so tangible, so real. And again, I think so much credit has to go to Jim Radcliffe and what he does with our speed condition, our speed training, our conditioning, and then also being that kind of strength coach for both sports to allow that to happen.
Right here, Matt, in front.
With all your quarterbacks having some kind of experience within your system now, does that change maybe the way you structure or where you're at in the install compared to last year when Vernon wasn't even here at this time?
Yeah, it probably almost, I almost think sometimes to a fault, like you try to be too cute or do too much early, and you're trying to for instance, Justin Herbert's out there for the first time today, and sometimes he looks like an all-pro, and sometimes he looks like he's never played football before. I mean that in the nicest possible way. But you have to, and certainly just the tempo of how we do things, it's different than the summer. And no matter what these guys do in the summer, it's not as fast as when Coach Hoke's out there, Coach Lubig's out there, we're out there getting them to play at the tempo we want to. And so that's where you have to go back to those building blocks of what you do in scheme-wise and in all three phases.
Dead center field, Mike.
Mark, you mentioned Royce is one of those emerging leaders on the field. I've heard Tyrell in that discussion as well, same with Dakota. These are some quiet guys. What's that like, having more of a quiet energy among some of these guys that have been discussed as leaders, and is that different from what you've seen in the past?
Not really. I think we've had a bunch of guys of that vein. Marcus never looked that above his shoes his freshman year, and Coronas Cross was a very quiet guy. Hearts go out to him as well. Unfortunately, him getting hurt, but I know he'll bounce back too. We've seen it before. But you have to work with who they are and what they are right now, and that's certainly a learnable skill, a teachable skill in leadership, and our guys have done it.
Yeah, Mark, at Pac-12 Media Day, you talked about two things: quarterback play, and develop a guy there, and the other thing was front seven on defense. Talked about the defense earlier needing to be better. Do you sense that the front seven is going to be a situation like the old days here, where you can play two guys at each position, sort of a depth thing on the front seven, D-line and linebackers? And then I know you touched on a few guys, Hollins, Prevost, Mondo earlier. Can you talk about some others who have sort of risen to the top there?
Well, yeah, to I'll go last first. We don't know yet. We haven't risen to just after day one, practice one. It's hard to establish depth. Helmets only practice. All those kind of things. And then the first part of your question, hopefully, absolutely, we want to be as deep as possible. I think that does you know, a couple things for you. It makes you versatile in special teams. It makes you versatile in personnel groupings defensively, whether it's an odd front, a nickel group, a dime group, all those guys in there. But I like where we're headed from a depth standpoint. At linebacker, you know, we could have 3 first-year guys in there starting very easily, very easily. And I guess one of those first-year guys might be DeQuan. You know, he had a great spring, and just of how he's competed in there. And so all that does is create competition and urgency for everybody else.
Back left, Steve Mims.
Mark, sounds like Coach Rad's heading off to Rio as well. Does that, he leave some notes behind for you, or does that kind of alter any kind of preseason kind of training that you guys are doing?
Slightly, yeah. Coach Rad he's in Rio right now. He sent me some pictures yesterday to validate it. They were in the weight room, I can say. Devin was in there with the Olympic volleyball, the men's volleyball team, working out. Yeah, we had a plan for you know, him being gone, Devin being gone, and you know, today was seamless. Not that we don't miss him, we do, and we're happy for where he is. Guys just stepped in, and again, another opportunity for players to take over some leadership roles of stuff that Brad does.
I'm curious how you feel about the new NCAA rules or that allow you to retweet recruits. And it seemed like some coaches around the country, at least the first night, attacked that like the more you like something, the better chance. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. Yeah, it's you know. Yeah, it's a strange world we live in. We did that.
Matt?
With Kirk Merritt's departure, it seems like Charles is really the only guy that fits that slot mode. I know you like to have every receiver be able to play positions, but is there a guy or two that you feel like could be behind him in that slot role, or is it just whoever kind of emerges?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's whoever emerges. We'll have a ton of competition there of kind of what we do with guys in general is kind of start them outside and then work to that slot position, or start them at tailback and work to the slot position. You know, a guy like DeAnthony was a guy that, you know, kind of started at tailback, worked outside, or vice versa. There've been a bunch of guys. You know, Tristan is a guy who by all reports in the offseason, in the summer, had a great summer. We'll see how that works out, and then all those guys, the veteran guys, whether it's Darren Carrington or Dwayne, and you know, the other returning guys at receiver will all slot in there, and so just that kind of mix of tailback complement, tight end complement, and then really whoever your third best guy in there, whether that's an outside guy or an inside guy, we'll figure out.
All right, I just saw Roy, so we'll do one more. Jay, right here.
Hi, Coach. Can you talk about Dakota's grasp on the playbook at this point? And I guess, how advantageous was it for him to be here? You know, he's been here for a while compared to what you went through, you know, a year ago this time, from a comfort standpoint.
Yeah, and we're always going to make the best situation, right? That's the coach's job, is to make everything the most ideal situation of all. And if a guy shows up 2 weeks from now and he's your best player, you're going to figure out the best way, and you're going to make it the best. But certainly it's advantageous for him to be here for a spring, a summer, and just today absolutely look more comfortable doing things. And you know, his thing is always just don't overthink things. Just you know, make layups. We have to talk about that all the time for the quarterback. Just make a layup. Make 100 layups in a row, and you're going to be the greatest player of all time. Don't try to do a 360. Don't try to do a reverse layup. Just make a layup. And you know, handing the ball to Royce Freeman, getting the ball to Charles Nelson in space, doing all those things. That's kind of making a layup for those guys.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.